First, what are expert systems? You can read faster than I can talk, so I'll let you read that screen. In fact, my voice is not going to hold up if I stop screaming. Don't stop screaming. Okay? Expert systems were very popular in the 1980s or so, and there were a couple of very shining examples of success. But for every one of these successes, there were probably 100 failures. And experts fell out of favor for a number of reasons. One, it took too powerful a computer. And that means too expensive a computer in those days. And secondly, it took many hundreds, if not thousands of hours of very high-priced people called knowledge engineers. So they were prohibitively expensive and just didn't turn out to be a technology ready for prime time yet. Let's see. This is a quick description. Oh, I hit too many clicks here. This is a quick description of how such expert systems operated. A subject matter expert would have a dialogue with a knowledge engineer, and the knowledge engineer would program some software, hopefully replicating the thought process of the subject matter expert. But you can read the text down here. Unfortunately, oftentimes too expensive, and many of them just didn't emulate close enough the expertise of the subject matter expert. Here's some of the dynamics of what has happened over the last 20 years. In the early days of computers, software systems were developed and used by computer experts. Later on, software systems were developed by computer experts and used by persons who are not computer experts. And today, in the area of expert systems, we have software systems developed and used by persons who are not computer experts. That's the latest generation. That's the one that's just being introduced right now. And here's the difference. We no longer need the knowledge engineer in between. We now can have something called, and this is very interesting, for an academic environment to come up with a name that is really descriptive of the product is unbelievable, unheard of. And I'm going to tell you the academic institution. You'll all know it. George Mason University. Their learning, what is it called? Learning Agent Center has been working on this for some 20 years. It's already been tested. DARPA has graded as being the most powerful of anything that they've graded for prime time. And this is basically how it works. I'll emulate it by making believe I'm the subject matter expert. No, let's play you're the subject matter expert. I'm the computer system. I would say, Elsa, tell me about one of your major problems that you need to solve. And Elsa would say, it's problem number X. And I say, well, Elsa, how do you solve X? And if you don't know it, it's easy for you to surmise. The problem as complex as X is solved by decomposing X into X1, X2, X3, and whatever. And I say, okay, Elsa, now that I've decomposed X, you've told me that it's X1, X2, and X3. How do you solve X1? And Elsa says, well, I solve X1 by decomposing that into something else. And fundamentally, complex problems, even the most complex problems in the world, are really a decomposition down to things that you can solve, and they work back up to being a solution. And that's what this system does. It dialogues with Elsa, asking her the kinds of questions that get towards that ultimate solution. Meanwhile, because I'm very smart as a computer, I can make all kinds of analogies and algorithms to replicate her thought process that can be used over again. Now here's this concept of disciple. What does disciple mean to you? Disciple, I'm just rhetorically asking that question. I'm not expecting us to carry on a buzz session over just the definition of the word. But a disciple is somebody who sits at the feet of the prophet and learns from the prophet. That's what I just described as the expert system, which we're calling learning agents. What does the disciple also do? Turn around and goes out and evangelizes. That's the other role of the disciple. So when you make an expert system or a learning agent by Elsa and my collaboration, now as a learning agent, I can turn around and teach all of you the same knowledge that Elsa has. I can bring you up to this level of competency that quickly if the system is designed very well. And the technology today is there to support a very rapid design that replicates, emulates, never can be as good as, but approximates Elsa's thought processes. And therefore I can bring you, X generation, Y generation, or whatever generation, up to Elsa's. Now I'm not implying that you were the mature. Didn't say that at all, so don't anybody hold me to that one.
So it's a repeatable process?
Absolutely repeatable. Buzz issues. What learning technologies have you found most beneficial? Which of these learning topics that I've talked about, performance support, virtual workshops, simulations, and learning agents, have the most potential for your organization? And finally, do you think we need a KM simulation and a KM learning agent focusing on how to perform KM? And if we had such things, would you like to support the development of them and use them in your own expansion of your skills and competencies in learning knowledge management? I did it in less than 10 minutes. Class, aren't you amazed? Okay, buzz. And at the end, we'll ask each one of you from your table some key nugget that you came up with that you thought was particularly important that you'd like to communicate to the other 4 tables. So we're going to take just about 10 minutes, and we'll conclude with about 5 minutes of reporting out the buzz. Go get them. Report out some insight, some hot issue, some concept they thought was important that evolved from their own discussions.
That's the basis of our business.
Some people have so much passion, there's nothing I can do to shut them up.
It's multimedia. Books, audiobooks, and video. We put them in handheld devices. Therefore, they are available not just online but offline. While they're doing your job.
Okay.
Yes. In your pocket.
All right. Let's start with table 1. Who at table 1 would like to report out any particular hot issue that they discussed or spent? Anybody?
Well, we talked about problems can't necessarily be broken down.
Oh, no, wait a second. Now you're quibbling. Not all problems. Okay. Problems can't be, or not all problems can be? I don't know the answer to that. You may be right, but the experts who've been doing this learning agent stuff for 20 years believe that most very important problems that need to be solved and need to have something like a disciple that can teach others how to solve them can be decomposed. So you might be right. There might be some that can't be. That's fine. Out of 1 million problems out there, maybe only a couple 100,000 can be used for this technology. What we're after are some very important problems where the young generation entering the workforce can be substantially improved. I like to speak in terms of their skills and competencies come up like that as opposed to taking 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 years to come up.